for joining me. I mean, I think most of you will know everyone on the stage. I just want to highlight Shadi Halliwell, the very brilliant, what's your job title? CMO, CCO?
Customer director.
Customer person at PizzaExpress, who has actually joined the sector in the last 9 months and comes from transforming a number of fantastic UK brands like O2. So it's great to have Shadi here. And then there are some very familiar faces on stage who have been developing great consumer-led businesses. So I'm going to start with Phil. Phil is our data man, our CGA man, who I'm sure you all know. Can you give the audience a sense of what the data is saying has happened since June Freedom Day 2022?
Yeah, 21. Of course. So we all know the negative backdrop, the 15 months, 100 billion in sales gone, 10,000 outlets gone. What we really want to focus on is how the market's coming back. And I think that is one of the positives we want to talk about on this panel, really, because if you look at Coffer CGA Business Tracker, yes, the MAT is down versus 2019, 4.5%. But if you look at the October versus the October numbers, you can start to see the positivity coming through. And it's up at around about 3.3%. And I think what's driving that is the consumer. So we all know what it's like. Sometimes you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And we've gone 18 months without our sector, and it's almost really reinvigorated the consumer appetite for us. We've all gone without those birthdays, those celebrations, those anniversaries, and therefore consumers want to get back into our sector and enjoy those occasions in the forums and in the venues that can deliver those experiences better than anything. But the one thing I would say is, at the moment, with every opportunity there is a but, and the but comes from the fact that consumer expectation has never been as high as it is right now. Because for the last 18 months, you were referencing it in your opening, we've all been enjoying our delivery at home kits, we've been enjoying our hospitality at home. Even post-COVID, those numbers are up 130% in value sales. This is a trend that is definitely sticking with us. We've enjoyed our cocktail at home kit, so Simon, thank you. The Dead Red Zombie is a household favorite, we enjoy that, so thanks very much. But what it means is, when we come out into the marketplace, our expectations are just so high. And it means that when we're talking to consumers of what they want, the challenge is the first thing they want is great service, second thing they want is great quality food, and the third thing they want is great quality drinks.
And are people eating in the same places that they ate in before lockdown?
To a degree, but not with the same loyalty. So because everyone's got that live for the moment mindset, and because they've all been cooped in for 18 months, now when people are out, they want something that's going to deliver on experience. So the average consumer repertoire, they've got 6 major brands within their repertoire, but they're churning 50% of them every 6 months. So if they come in and have an experience that doesn't live up to what they're expecting, it's almost there's no second chances, you're out.
Yeah.
And actually what we're seeing is people are actually actively seeking smaller brands to give that sense of discovery. So they feel like they can introduce their friends and they can introduce their social group to those brands. So it's actually changing.
And is that what has surprised you from the data?
I think that's one thing that's definitely surprised me from the data. The second is how quickly people moved on from safety. So once safety was done, they came out and it was, I'm out and I am, to quote Peter Kay, I'm out, and I'm going to have a great time. And they saw their check value actually increase. Shots and shooters are on the menus, cocktails are on the menus, premiumization, and that is something that is continuing to come through in the numbers as well.
In the numbers, okay. I mean, do you recognise this? There's sort of macro trends, the three of you. What surprised you? Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've seen exactly right, actually, Phil. I think that's exactly what we've seen. People are coming out and they're looking for something more experiential. The other thing I've noticed is that it's spread much more across the week. So for us at the moment, on a sort of like for like basis, Monday is now the strongest day of the week, and it starts its weekends off as you head towards sort of Thursday, Friday. So I think what we're seeing is certainly in our business across the week is a flattening of that as well. Yeah. So people are looking to go out on a Monday night, less for sustenance and more for an experiential special occasion, as much as they would do it on a Wednesday or a Friday. I mean, Saturday's still the busiest day, obviously, but it's much more spread than it used to be.
That's what you've also seen, Simon, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I think Phil's phrase there about living in the moment, it's where people are choosing to live. in the big regional cities in the north, lots of people have moved in, lots more residential space for people to take part in. And it means that we're seeing activity Monday right through to Sunday. But as Steve just mentioned there, every evening really has become an occasion of some sort. And it means that any sort of slippage in standards, you've got your great team on a weekend like you've always had, but you've got to make sure that that experience is as good on a Tuesday night, because that consumer is demanding all the basics that they always have. You know, great atmosphere, environment, service standards, good food, good drinks, but they also want a whole heap of other stuff behind that now. Much more extensive range of healthy eating options, a better sense of theatre, more things to take photographs of. And if you're not delivering on that, then you become part of that group of people that are churned out of your 6 favourite brands. And you're gone.
Okay. Shadi, when Pizza Express opened, what were the things you noticed?
So I joined during COVID, so I didn't really know what to expect when I actually saw the real business.
Yeah.
And one of the words I learned really quickly was cannibalisation. We are a dine-in business.
It's one of our favourite words.
Is it?
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
maybe you started that word.
Welcome
you
to the
and
industry.
Zoe and Emma.
We use cannibalisation a lot.
And we didn't have a delivery and collection business of any consequence pre-COVID. And I think the biggest surprise that we've talked about quite regularly is the business we built up in those 12, 18 months has not gotten any smaller. It's stayed exactly the same. And we think, you know, if you think about the customer, it's a totally different decision. You know, I'm either going to come home from work, put my tracky bottoms on, and have something in, and there's a little bit of crossover, or I'm going to come home, get dressed up, go out with my friends and family because I've missed them, I want to be with them. And so that fear factor that we've always had, which goes back quite some time, is something we probably didn't have to be so scared about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I've got, and I'm going to ask the operators, Phil, I hope you don't mind me saying you're not an operator, is are we still in the business of casual dining? I mean, I was very involved in Pizza Express a few years ago, also involved in Wagamama, where people just rocked up. And there was that sort of, that's why the sector was called that. Is that what you're seeing happen? I've heard you sort of suggest that it's more pre-planned.
So our observations, I think the reality is we can all in this room think about how much we missed our friends and family when we were in lockdown. We were stuck with our bubbles, and we fought with our bubbles, and we made friends with our bubbles. But really, what we needed was to get back out there. And so for us, we have been a walk-in business. The vast majority of our business, 80% of it, is walk in, come and get something lovely to eat and leave. And I think we've seen a real shift as we've reopened. And that's because people are planning more, and they want assurances that when they're going to go out, they're less inclined to just walk around and see where the night takes them. And they're much more, I've booked a table, I want to see my friends. There's a little bit of insecurity, and they want that guarantee. So our bookings number has actually doubled since we've reopened. And that's a dynamic that we've got to get used to, I think. And then just talking about food being adventurous, I mean, on social media, we were watching Michelin star chefs, we were creating things and sending it, you know, like you say, kits were being made, the at-home experience. And that food adventure, I think, is something that's really helped Pizza Express, because what we found in our business is if you have a sloppy Giuseppe when you're 14, you're probably going to have a sloppy Giuseppe when you're 65. And it's very difficult to get people off and trying new things. But this feeling of, I'm going to try something new. Actually, we put quite a lot of investment in our summer menu with lots of new pizzas, and we haven't really had great success with selling more than your favorite. Look at Steve there for a little bit of reassurance on your recall. But what we found is once you got back into Pizza Express and you had your Florentino with your gooey egg and that craving that you'd had for so long, customers became much more adventurous. So our summer menu, our new items, were our top sellers.
Really?
So that's really fitting in with what you're saying, that people really are saying, well, let's just have a go at this. Let's try something new. So those two really big learnings, I think, for us,
And when we were talking about it, Steve, you said that you thought they wanted casual but special.
Yeah, we did a piece of research, actually, to try to answer this exact question when we came out of COVID. What are customers looking for from casual dining, and has it changed as a result of the pandemic? And quite quickly, we learned that people are looking for a more special occasion, but at the same time, they also said they wanted to be more casual. And of course, when you start to think of that at a high level, you think, well, it's a bit of an oxymoron. How do you become more casual and yet more special? But I think as we've sort of unpicked that over over the last few months. I think what they're looking for is an experience where, when they say more casual, less formal. I think that's the Zoom phenomenon. You know, and now you have so many meetings with professional advisors, and you're looking into people's bedrooms. I think everyone's a bit more relaxed about being casual with each other, and so they're looking for experiences like that. But to exactly what we've all said already, that when they get together, it's a special occasion. They're reconnecting with friends, and they want tons of social capital and experiment to experiment and be more experiential, but just not formal, I think.
Okay. And Simon, you talked about how important great service was, especially in an environment like yours.
Yeah, I think, as we all know, there's never really been anything casual about casual dining from the operating side. You're trying to create a very informal, comfortable environment for the consumer, making them feel at ease. They're not wanting for anything, being attended to without being too intrusive. And everything is very curated, from what's on the plate or in the glass to what's going on in the music and lighting around you. And actually, I think the consumer has become much more tuned into that. We've all spent a long time creating this big fear of missing out. Our kind of social channels, our e-platforms, the way that we talk to the consumer while we've been locked down has, very, very crafted, very sort of particularly put together, creating this idea of missing out. And if you're not then delivering Instagram versus reality, if what you're sort of saying is happening in the venues doesn't translate, then consumers are voting with their feet. So we're having to step up, I think, as operators. If there was ever any casualness creeping into it, you've got to really be committed to your service standards. And lots of people are making some quite bold decisions, but good ones at the moment. If you can't service a full 7-day trading week, morning, noon and night, then cut some of those shoulder times out or take days out. Focus on delivering a really good experience at the times that people want it, and just accept the fact that you might not be able to stretch yourself across all those day parts any longer.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, I want to it's great to hear you talk about service like that. I want to pivot a bit and just actually ask another question. I mean, when we were in lockdown, we saw this blending of eating at home and eating out. The more experiential eating at home came in. Apparently, one of the things that most people spent money on was a Heineken dispensing unit. Well, that's one of the single biggest growth. I don't know if Heineken are here. They can vouch for it.
Who said that? Heineken.
Or an Asahi dispensing unit. I know that Nigel Sherwood, who isn't here, definitely bought one of those because we had to witness it in lots of Zoom calls. So I guess the question, I mean, and I'm going to ask Shadi, because to come to Shadi first on this, is what's this concept of multi-channel has really emerged in lockdown, with restaurant brands turning up in both a delivery space and also in a retail space. And is that helpful to the customer, do you think? I'm going to come to you first, because PizzaExpress have got perhaps the biggest footprint in those 3 channels, because I think it was something that we never really embraced as a sector before lockdown.
So my first answer is, we've had a retail business for over 20 years, which you guys both know very well. And surprisingly, we sell more pizzas through supermarket than we do in restaurant. For us as a business, pre-COVID, we were a very heavily discounted product. In fact, over 50% of our covers were discounted. And I think COVID, that was the one advantage that we had. It gave us time to get off that drug. And then the question is, for us, how do you use your scale, which we have like no other in the industry, to your advantage? And I think that multi-channel environment has bought us earned customers as opposed to bought customers. Now, a lot of the deals that we had with third parties, we'd get no customer data, we didn't know who they were, and we would not be thanked for that discount. O2 would from Priority, or Meerkats would. And the supermarket brand and the visibility in supermarket, now we've come off that discount drunk, I think is very, very helpful. But you've also got to remember that when you're in a multi-channel, you still have to innovate.
So in each channel?
In each channel. You can't just be sitting on your laurels. So over COVID, we did some really nice innovations. We launched our dipping sauces, and we launched dough. Now, if you think about dough balls, pizza dough, I don't think there's any negative sentiment about dough balls on the internet for PizzaExpress. It's 100% of the population love them. So we produced fresh dough, and we put ourselves in a new category in Tesco a few months ago, and we now have 38% of that category.
Right.
Now, if as a customer you go and buy that dough and you love it, then it feels like you will then visit a restaurant. So that's where big multi-channel, I think, has great, greater scale and greater possibilities for us. Going forward, the thing we have to think about is, gosh, we're selling millions of pizzas in the supermarket and I don't know who's buying them. So what we're thinking about now is how do we now collect data from those pizza buyers? Because an opted-in customer at PizzaExpress, or generally industry-wide, is worth 3 times more than a customer you don't know. They're friends. You can engage with them. You know what they like. You can tell them a story, a bit like a friend in the pub. So the real challenge for us now is how do we really maximize that? So it allowed us to come off the discount drug.
Yeah.
You have to keep innovating in multi-channel. You can't be lazy in there and create new things so that your brand is showing itself very well everywhere. And now the real trick for us is getting to know those people who are buying us in
that
day
channel.
in, day out.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, can I come to you? Because, I mean, unlike PizzaExpress, you've done a really brilliant job with the Cocoa brand in that you had a relatively small estate, but you've now managed to give the brand real scale through this multi-channel. Do you want to tell everybody what you've been up to and why it's working?
I think Cocoa was interesting because we had about 30 units in London. It's a food-to-go business. It was in the city of London, maybe edging towards the West End. And of course, Cocoa gave us more concerns than anything else when we went into lockdown, because I think we all feared, and probably still do, that London is going to be permanently corrected. And it was always hard to make the margins work in a business where it's predominantly 5 days a week anyway, and without any evening business. And if you suddenly lose Monday and Friday, which is exactly what's happened, you're now a 3-day business. And so we were very much forced into thinking about, well, what are we going to do with Cocadoma? And of course, you look at the different channels that you can operate and you can sell in, and different markets where customers might be, as an opportunity to sort of reinvent that brand. And as it turns out, it's been a real revelation for Cocadoma, because as we went through lockdown, as Yuri, Ask and Zizi was like everybody else, became a delivery-only business. We had this Cocadoma brand and a group of people who were passionate about the product they're producing, food development teams, social media platforms, all the sort of the elements of an established business, but no means to sell the product. So we started working as a trial, effectively, to put Cocadoma into the Zizi kitchens, just to sell it as a dark kitchen brand, just the pasta, the hot pasta, and it actually took off, incredibly well. It surprised us actually how well it traded, especially as we thought that Cocoa was a London-centric brand, and its awareness outside of London would be relatively low. And it didn't transpire that way at all. So places like Southampton, Newcastle, all around the country had tremendous volumes of Cocoa, and then over 3 months we rolled it out to 130 Ask and Zizi locations. So we've now got a business. We had a business that was a sort of a London-centric food-to-go business, which has now become a national brand, selling out of north of 100, with the London ones reopened, 150 locations nationwide, selling delivery brand, and it's piqued the interest of people like Sainsbury's, who we had a relationship with anyway, because we sell Zizi pizzas in retail as well in Sainsbury's. And so we start to talk to Sainsbury's, and now we're selling Cocadoma cold grab and go in Sainsbury's convenience stores. Yeah. And we've done 15 stores, we've got another 15 going live next. So we've now got 30 locations selling cold grab and go, 150 locations. And so this business has been completely transformed, and actually all of these channels don't require CapEx. What's not to like?
And are you still selling your kits at home, even though
we are definitely, yeah. And it's been one of the kind of enduring things. We talked about what stuff might be with us for a little while longer, and pre-pandemic we've been very resistant to the idea of packaging things up and losing control of how the kind of theatre of that drink felt. Will it be a bit flat in people's living rooms? Obviously, we got pushed into that in the end last year. We'd already built a nice kind of shopping retail platform that allowed us just to sit those products on there. Obviously, last year it was completely open and there was nothing else for people to do, so we were able to deliver really well against that. But we did it very entrepreneurially, really, as you tend to do as a hospitality operator. We just do this ourselves. We had plenty of closed bars that we could just make use of, piling boxes and bottles and everything up. And of course, when we came back to life, we weren't imagining it was going to fall away completely, but we wanted to be sure that we were taking a bit more of a kind of robust approach. And although we're going at a very small scale, some of the things that you've been talking about there, just thinking about stepping back and putting a retail hat on rather than a hospitality hat, because it is fundamentally very different. And we recognise that we're offering something that works really as a kind of occasion piece still, is a gift rather than something you might do every week. So you have to focus your offering there around those kind of key gifting days, Mother's Day, graduation, Christmas, and that means then putting kind of product launches together around those times. The way that you talk to consumers is a little bit different at that stage. You can be a little bit more aggressive with your e-marketing, I think, in terms of retail. And we built a production unit. We put a bit of investment into it. We talked to retail experts, not hospitality experts, about it. And it's helped to sort of shape something that is not, we're not punching the lights out in terms of the numbers, but it's a nice, steady piece of growth. And it works really well in terms of brand awareness.
Brand
really
awareness, yeah.
Yeah.
So a new channel, yeah. No, it does look like it's an important thought for us all to think about, really. It's sort of the physical availability of the brands in these different spaces can be really helpful. Right, I just want to move on and talk a little bit about sort of digital and data. Obviously, as a sector, we were a wee bit behind a number of other sectors before we went into the pandemic, and then the government very kindly said, no contact, and so suddenly we all got very excited about QR codes and for payment apps, and I'd just really like to ask all of you, really, whether you think that sort of digital ordering and digital payment are kind of here to stay, and you can see that evolving, or whether actually now that we're back out eating and drinking, we're going to see perhaps less of that. Who wants to start? Steve, I'm seeing you looking.
Yeah, all right. I mean, one of the challenges that we've been grappling with in casual dining for, a long time now is that there is no need for a customer to give you, their data. There's no real opportunity for a digital hand raise. So we are sort of shooting blind most of the time, and you were saying it earlier about your retail pizzas, you just don't have a way to get the data. And of course, what's changed in the last 18 months is there's now considerably more opportunities to digitally raise your hand, whether that be bookings, whether that be order and pay at table, whether that be even the Wi-Fi login. So now we have far more opportunities, and the challenge for us is how do we use that information that the customers are now providing us to deliver a better experience. So we've invested very heavily in digital over the last couple of years. We've now actually got our own engineering team, and we've actually built our own order and pay at table app and our own transactional platform rather than one of the off-the-shelf ones. Partly because we're trying to develop a suite of tools that we can use, which are seamlessly integrated with each of our other tools, so the bookings platforms and the customer database, so that we can facilitate the free sharing of information data between all of those platforms. And then create a sort of an experience for customers, because I believe that technology that we create for customers has to be improve the experience. We don't want to replace the experience with technology. But if we can find a way to connect all of that data through technology that we've built that will facilitate a better customer experience, so they want to provide you their data, and it all does transfer, you could start to do some really cool stuff. So that if it's linked to your payroll system, that Emma Woods works in a restaurant in North London, and then she comes in and logs onto the Wi-Fi, you know who they are. You'll be able to find someone who's booked, who sits at a table, and if they pay what they've ordered, what they've eaten, which gives you the ability to do things like just walk out payment technology. If they've stored their data, gives you the ability to provide loyalty points, discounts, rewards, communicate to people in a different way. But we want to complete the picture. We want to be able to see what they're doing in all of our sort of digital touch points and find a way to join it together.
Okay. And is that true for you, Simon, in a cocktail bar experience?
Yeah, I think obviously we got pushed along that road quite heavily, and quite rightly, a lot of the tech companies got involved, and it was a good solution at the time. I think in terms of actual customer experience now for us, which presents very much as a kind of experiential occasion, and our teams really play an important role in terms of providing some of that experience. We've come away from a little bit of the convenience element of it. It's relatively complex what we do, and sometimes the ability to talk customers through that and add a bit of value to that experience through the human interaction is really important. From the pure data point of view, certainly one of the things we've tried to do is be better at analysing and actioning that data. That's been the biggest learning we've had, I think, over the kind of post-pandemic period, is that we've really been drowning in data. It's everywhere. Service standards, value perception, food quality, operational capability. The trouble is that you just end up with a lot of this information and don't then take the time or have the skill set to actually unpick it and look to apply it in a way that makes your business better from a consumer point of view, or probably more fundamentally at the moment, better from an employee point of view, and how you can kind of add value to their experience in the workplace through using the data available there, rewarding against it.
Okay. That's something you felt, Phil, that people were drowning in data but not using it before?
Absolutely. We go into a load of companies and we've got a cheesy expression, you're drowning in data but you've still got a thirst for knowledge. And data is very important, but insight is essential. And insight has to be completely embedded into the operations of the business, especially when we're looking at technology at the moment. So a lot of people, we're moving into digital menus, but only 46% of consumers want the digital menus. 54% actually want what we're famous for, hospitality. They want to engage with staff. The digital menus themselves, only 40% of people will actually look at the whole menu. So you've got 60% of people, if it's a digital menu in front of them, they'll only look at select parts of it.
Yeah.
So using that insight, how do we then integrate into our operations to make sure we're navigating them to the bits of the menu that are the best margin, the easiest to execute, and offer the best experience as well? Because that's what it comes back to. The biggest trend that was pre-COVID that has been reinforced and accelerated is in today's market, experience is king.
Yes. Okay, so it's more nuanced in terms of how you use the data. Shadi, I know you're a data geek, passionate about data. Is there anything that you would like to add?
There's kind of two bits for me. I mean, I think when I arrived, we had pay at table and we had Wi-Fi, obviously, but we didn't have a segmented base. And you know, we weren't building anything that was going to see loyalty come through. So first thing we did was segment the base and really put people into categories. Are you a student? Are you family? Are you this? Are you that? And that way we get to know them a bit better, because we were sending out one email a week and it was just whoever had something to say, just chuck it in. You know, my dog's going for a walk on Tuesday and here's a recipe for it. It was just so random. So we've done all that work, and what we are seeing versus 2019, and you know, I get that you'd say that there's no reason for customers to opt into PizzaExpress or any other casual dining. We've grown our revenue from our base by 50% every single week by having that segmented base. And we've had, you know, 26 weeks now of opt-in growth. We're giving customers a reason to opt in. Come on, come and sign up with us, be our friend, and we will talk to you about the things that you love. So, you know, it's a part way to loyalty. So the proof is in the pudding. We've grown our revenue 50% every single week versus 2019. That's why opt-ins are really important. And that's why the supermarket product with the volume that it has is really important for us as a business. Yeah. Because what can I get out of that then? Yeah. Then there's the other dilemma, is how do you give people a great experience but give them something that's slick from a technology point? So at a point of interference where they don't want to see a human, actually it just works. So, I mean, the other thing about consumers is they're just bloody ungrateful. They don't appreciate technology. I mean, it's really tough for us with legacy businesses. But if you can see a little car on your phone that you've ordered, cancel on you and turn around after you spent 20 minutes waiting for it, you do not think pay at table is innovative. It's just make it happen, people. That's the way I want to live my life. So where I'm, sorry, where I'm losing my thread here, where I was going with that is, I think, personally, you want to see a human when you come in and take an order, and we want to be excited about telling you about our menu items. You do not want to sit at a table and go, excuse me, can I have another drink? Can I have another drink? Can I have another drink? So how can technology integrate in a service where you do give a great experience, but you're not compromising that wonderful thing that we bring to the party, which is humanness? And that's the battle, and that's the dichotomy. But I'd say you've got to get more sophisticated with your systems, because there is value to be had with opt-ins. And you've got to really think about how do you deliver a brilliant experience where people, because they'll take it for granted that they can order a drink through pressing a button. Yes. But they'll love you for it. But don't take away the humanness and beauty of what casual dining is all about.
Okay. I mean, it's really good to hear you all sort of thinking in a more nuanced way about data. The final question is a sort of subject close to my heart. I can see that we're beginning to run out of time, so let's make this a good one. It's about brands. We've seen during the pandemic a number of virtual brands be created on delivery platforms. We've also seen the demise of some extraordinary brands, or at least a number of brands shrinking because of them having to close sites. Do brands still matter to customers? The answer is yes.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes.
But tell, what's your perspective? I mean, it's interesting you said that people are now churning through brands.
Yeah, brands
What's
are
the-
still
what's the-
important, but they need to feel authentic, and the offer has to go almost through every element of the execution of it. But if the brand resonates with someone, they'll then share it. And Simon mentioned an important point earlier about social media. Consumers now, half of them get their view of where to go based on their friends' social media. So we have to make the brand live and breathe and therefore be
On social
shareable. And
media.
it comes to a point you said, people have that sense of social status from the brands they associate themselves with. So yes, brands are critical.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think one of the reasons that Coco probably worked when we took it out to Ask and Zizi is because it had a genuine vision and a genuine purpose. It had two founders who were trying to solve what they considered to be a problem, which was to get artisanal specialty coffee fast and to high quality pasta fast. And that was their vision 10 years ago in the city, and we took it to. But if you look that up, it was there. It's got a proper backstory. It's got a website. It's got social media channels. So it wasn't a brand without any purpose and meaning. And I think that's what helped contribute to its success,
Yeah.
nationally.
Yeah. I know your Alchemist is a beautiful brand. You put a lot of energy into that.
Yeah, I think it's everything. It's brand is loyalty, isn't it? It's recognition, it's awareness, it accelerates your marketing. It has to be looked after, it has to be innovated in its own right, it has to be invested into, and it has to be reflective of what happens in reality as well. And it's a really, tough thing to stay true to at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, I have a horrible feeling that we're out of time. So can we thank this amazing panel? Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.